Well, good evening, everybody. Good to see so many of you here on this chilly October evening, and appreciate those that are missing Celebrity Traitors to be here tonight. I'll be watching it when we get home, that's for sure. I'm Rachel, and I'm representing Tech York this evening, and I'm hosting tonight's talk. And before I introduce the speaker, I actually just wanted to take a few minutes to chat about Tech York and where we're at as a community. We've reached a bit of a milestone point in the journey because Tech York is now 3 years old under its current leadership, which for those of you that have been attending regularly might be a bit of a surprise that it's actually 3 years, because it certainly doesn't feel like 3 years. We've got a thriving community, and it's been thriving over that time, which is good, and the group has benefited from some really generous financial and in-person support from Sergey, who isn't here this evening, Richard, who is here, who's been doing the bar tonight, and Chris at Eagle Labs. I don't think Chris is here tonight, but they've also been supporting the group financially. And obviously, as it's a good community, it continues to grow and thrive. Going forward, we're looking at exploring ways to make Tech York more sustainable and inclusive. And so we'd like to sort of invite you guys as attendees of this to sort of contribute in terms of helping shape how we continue to grow Tech York and make it, you know, what it is. So, we're looking at some sponsorship opportunities for the group, or for the community. And this slide is part of our sponsorship deck. So this is very much work in progress, and we're open to feedback from all of you in terms of, how you feel we could progress this. In return for sponsorship, Tech York can offer a range of benefits to companies that choose to make a contribution in terms of access to talent, brand visibility, networking opportunities, opportunities to speak at future events, and social media recognition. But more than that, we hope that you really enjoy and get benefit from coming to these events on a regular basis, and therefore might, be in a position to consider supporting the tech community going forward. So we're just kind of planting a bit of a seed tonight, just to kind of, mention that we are ideally looking for sponsors. Ideally, we'd like to get 4 sponsors, just paying a modest annual sponsorship fee. And if we can do that, then it will hopefully cover the cost of events for 2026, so that we can continue to, have the community as it is and put these events on. So if you think your company would be interested, or you've got any feedback, ideas, or know somebody who might be interested in sponsoring, then, come and chat to me, chat to Terry, chat to Richard, chat to Alex as well, and Ben at the back. So, if you think you might be interested, then just let us know. So that's all I kind of wanted to say on that for now. So, moving on. At this month's Tech York, we're joined by Steve Brewer, who is Innovation Manager at the Hartree Centre. And Stephen is a seasoned business and technology leader with over 30 years of experience in the pharma, agtech and digitech industries. He's also founder of Text Mining Solutions, which was set up quite a few years ago to help businesses use technology to achieve their strategic objectives. Terry and I have known Stephen since that time, actually, because we both set our businesses up at the same time, and we were both based out of the Roncook Hub at the University of York many, many years ago, and we had a lot of common ground, which was quite good to sort of chat and bounce ideas off of each other. And I think, Stephen was a bit of ahead of his time really back then, using text mining techniques to help extract data from for businesses, and he was certainly kind of along the AI and NLP journey, I think, before a lot of the rest of us were, and before AI became what it is today. So I think without further ado, I will hand over to Stephen, and then he can carry on from there. We'll be doing Q&A at the end, so if you've got any questions and things, we can cover that off afterwards.
Thank you for your kind words, Rachel. Do you want to squeeze past me before I start?
I might actually, yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, good evening, everybody. I think I have got a tough gig tonight with the traitors on this evening. In an hour and a half, I was worried about that. I'm going to be watching to see who's wandering out the door at 8:30. But just like the traitors, there's a big prize on offer for all of you in the room tonight, potentially as a result of coming along this evening, and I'm going to spend a bit of time discussing that with you. So yes, I am Steve. I'm a Yorkie, live up in Skelton. Been here most of my life actually, and ran, as Rachel said, a fairly successful digitech business for 14 years based here in York. And I work, I'd like to say part-time, but I get away with as little as I can. I shouldn't have said that, should I? He's recording it. For Sunderland Software City. And I've put on here the kind of things that we're doing, but it's around developing the tech ecosystem in the Northeast. Not too dissimilar from some of the aims and ambitions of Tech York, I should imagine. And it's curious to me that York is not considered to be in the Northeast. I'm quite surprised. They view us all as Southerners up there for some reason. But anyway, you know, there's great stuff going on here as well. So I've been invited along this evening to talk about something called the Hartree project. It's my contact details here. I'll just draw that to your attention right now because it will disappear shortly. And you can scan the QR code and go to the Hartree Northeast Hub, which is mostly what I'll be talking about this evening. So the Hartree project is, Hartree, let me say, is a person, a place and a project. The person was Douglas Hartree. He was a famous English physicist and mathematician. Died in the late 50s, but worked on ENIAC, a programmable digital general purpose. One of the first computers. And his role in that was to advise them. Turned out on the trajectory of ballistic missiles and using differential equations. And if you know what that means, I'm impressed. That was his kind of work. And I always say at this point that he gave his name to the Hartree Centre, but of course he didn't because he passed away before then. So the Hartree Centre took his name for their building. And the Hartree Centre is quite a flash building on a tech campus near Warrington called Daresbury. Anybody heard of Daresbury? Yeah, a good bit of nodding there. So they are up to their neck in quantum computers, supercomputing, twinned with Harwell, so the smashing atoms up and all that sort of stuff. It's really sexy physics, I suppose you could say. And the Hartree Centre is on that Daresbury campus. And one of the things that the Hartree Centre does is run the Hartree project, and that's what I'm going to speak to you about today. Now, the Hartree project is a government-funded initiative. It's UKRI and Science and Technology Facilities Council money, and we're in the third year of 3 years right now. You don't need to panic because there's plans for further funding and investment. And I can imagine the way this happened. You know, a minister or prime minister stood up and said, "We're going to make the UK the world's centre of AI." And all the civil servants went, "Oh my God, nobody told me that," and ran around and come up with some plans and found a bit of money. And it landed on the map of Hartree, the Hartree Centre. That's kind of my anecdotal view of how this sort of thing happens in this country anyway. So they've got a lot of money. It was topped up by IBM and others. And the purpose of the Hartree project is to help SMEs across the UK embed data science and AI in their business. I think it says something similar there. So then the question is, how do they go about doing that? And if there are any SMEs in the room, this is really for you, right? This is really for you. So what they did, the Hartree Centre set up 3 hubs around the UK. There's one in Cardiff, which services the southwest of England and Wales. There's one in Derry in Northern Ireland. And the third hub is in Newcastle. And that's a collaboration between my organisation, Sunderland Software City, and the National Centre, the National Innovation Centre for Data, which will be NICD from now on, based in Newcastle. And it'll become obvious why we're collaborating on this Northeast Hub in a few minutes. And it's our responsibility to support businesses predominantly in the Northeast, but not exclusively. And I can tell you now that we've supported at least 3 businesses from York and the Yorkshire regions. Teacher Success Platform out of the university, a company called Centre that was looking at grassroots football match reports, believe it or not. And very recently, a company from West Yorkshire called Horizon Platforms. So we're supporting businesses My view is we're going to support businesses all around the UK and take a bit more of this. But strictly speaking, we can work anywhere except for Wales, southwest of England, and Northern Ireland, I think. So how do you best go about supporting this broad spectrum of SMEs? Because an SME, right, could have been a business that was formed yesterday or even this morning. Okay, no trading history. Absolutely nothing. There's a back catalogue. You've got businesses that are established, but they don't realise they're sitting on assets, data assets. They just don't know that they've got data in the business that could be being working for them. And examples of that are organisations like in social housing or something like that, where they've got masses of data, but their priorities are not to process that for efficiency gains or anything like that. Their priorities are regulatory compliance, right? And that's what drives them. So that's what they focus on. You've got organisations that are aware they've got lots and lots of data, but they don't know what to do with it. What am I going to? I want to do something, but I don't know what. And then you've got SMEs across this whole spectrum of the SME that have great ideas, but don't have the resources in-house to be able to go and create a large language model, or a machine learning algorithm or something like that to fulfill a purpose in the business. So we've got to address all of those. And it's quite complicated. And the way we decided to do it was for the businesses at the front end, the newcomers, the ones that are curious, they've got ideas but they don't know what to do. We run workshops, and we run workshops throughout the year. If you go to this QR code, you'll see the next workshop's in January up in Newcastle. I've done a couple in York already, one in Middlesbrough around the northeast. And those workshops are aimed at getting people's creative juices flowing, if you like. They're thinking about the tech and how it might be deployed in their business. And they're led by case studies. So we're always peppering everything we discuss with examples of what other businesses are doing so they can read across and see whether this Hartree project is for them. So the content of the workshops, we'd start with something like, what is data? Start exploring the concepts of data. We ask the question, why is data visualization important? We start then introducing simple things like dashboards, again, with examples of what we've done and what other companies are doing with dashboards. We look at machine learning, and given the level of technical knowledge of the audience, this is not computing, coding, building machine learning models. This is we're going to get a load of picture cards out on this table here, and we're going to build a machine learning model to classify them, on the tabletop, so people can get. You did it, didn't you? You did it, didn't you, Anthony? Yeah. So this is just about giving them a general idea of what machine learning is about while maintaining it at an understandable level and not being too frightening. But it's necessary to understand that. And then we get on to, of course, large language models. And if the audience is up for it, we might talk about concepts like RAG. And eventually we finish up with a little piece on agentic AI now. And every time I prepare for one of these workshops, there's a new concept that has to be bolted on the end. That's the rate of change. We're doing this for 3 years, and we didn't have RAG. We didn't have half the stuff on the LLMs we have now. We certainly didn't have agentic AI, and I imagine there'll be something different in January to throw out there as well. So those are the workshops. The next one, as I say, is in January. Now, one of the other benefits of coming to the workshops is that in the afternoon, one of my colleagues from HNCDI comes along and explains what it takes to submit a successful project application for longer term support from Hartree. And I'm going to just mention that to you right now. So in addition to the workshops, or don't need to do a workshop, you can just go straight into a long-term collaborative project. We run 12-week support. So these are collaborative projects where you already have a great idea of what you need to do in your business, but you don't have the resources in-house. So you're going to work directly with the data scientists at HNCDI, and they'll deliver that solution for you. And that intellectual property that's created is yours. You take it away. There's not really any strings to it. The only thing that we ask is that you do a little short 2-minute piece to camera about your experience of working with Hartree. And if you go onto this website, click on the Insights link, you'll see loads of videos there of the companies that we've supported already. So let me tell you about those collaborative projects. We have an open call every 3 months. The next one will be in January. They're timed to coincide with the workshop, so people can come through the workshop, get some great ideas, put them on paper and submit an application for a project. They last 12 weeks. They are of nominal value of 35k. There's no fee. There's no money changes hands with the successful applicants. You're getting 35k's worth of developer time from Nick D to work on the project for you. And to be eligible, you must be an SME. You must not have already received 350k's worth, or I think 315k's worth of state aid subsidy control over the past 3 years. And there are a couple of other measures in there around ownership of your business. And if a large part of that's overseas owned, then obviously that wouldn't run either. So what are the questions I usually ask? So how many applications do we tend to get every quarter? It can be between 7 and 21. I think that's the range. So it's not many, okay? The last round, which closed a month ago, we got 15. So that's about the average. And half of those, every time, are terrible proposals, because nobody came to a workshop, nobody got in touch with me to ask me what they should put into their proposal. So half of them just binned straight away. They don't score highly. So out of those 15, the maths doesn't work, does it? Half of 15, but let's say 7 of them were rubbish. We've got 8 good proposals there, and we support 2 or 3 every quarter. So there's a few people there disappointed because they've got good proposals, but they're not going to go through. Those that succeed are very happy. You'll see all of those comments on the video pieces there. And those that were not successful but ranked highly, you always have the opportunity to seek some feedback from the panel on your proposal and submit it again in 3 months' time, so you can go again. And we've had companies go straight through. A company based here in York, Barefoot Lightning, they submitted a proposal. This isn't usual, but they submitted a proposal with about 6 hours notice, and it was successful. Doesn't normally work that way, by the way. We've had companies that have resubmitted and been successful. We've never had anybody, I think we've never had anybody that's had to submit twice and been successful. I think by that time you should be taking the hint that perhaps your project proposal is off beam or something like that. So what else do I need to tell you about these collaborative projects? You can go and have a look at many of them, but just to give you a flavour of what people have been doing. So I mentioned Centre, that are producing grassroots football reports using an LLM. A lot of the projects that we see are what I would describe as LLM augmented decision support systems. So you've got a process in your business that requires your intellectual knowledge and experience and history of working in a particular domain to make a recommendation to somebody. Well, a lot of businesses are now saying, well, can we augment that decision-making process, make it more efficient by introducing an LLM, a large language model. Sorry for everybody there can't be anybody that doesn't know that, can there, in here? An LLM. So we see a lot of those coming through. And we'd rather not see too many more of those, actually, because the data scientists are getting fed up doing the same thing. It's good to be able to recycle a little bit of what they've done, but they're looking for new, exciting things. We did a project with a company called Flowkey. Now, Flowkey maintain that X number of hours are lost every shift in a hospital by the staff looking for equipment. They don't know where it is. And I wouldn't dispute that. I'm sure it's the case, right? So they've got RFID tags on all the equipment, the blood pressure monitors, the wheelchairs, everything you can think of. And that information is relayed back through a system to a dashboard. So the first thing they wanted us to build was a simple dashboard, right? That was great. Then they got a step forward. But then once they've got their knowledge coming through on the dashboard, they were able to say, well, can we do some predictive analytics here and say, given the number, these patients are on this ward this time of day, what equipment should we have there? And then you can put it there before anybody has to go and look for it. So that was a project with them. Horizon Platforms, that I think I mentioned, down in West Yorkshire, They're interested in just improving their invoicing process. It's rather complicated at the moment. I was just having a discussion before we started about some of the simple issues that I faced when I was running a business about, you submit an invoice and 2 different people pay half of it and this kind of stuff. And it just causes chaos with internal systems. So they wanted us to help them with their invoicing from a point of view of process efficiency, really. We've looked at bird radar, scanning on offshore wind farms for birds to see if we can determine what the species is and whether that's going to be, detrimental to the wind farms and all the rest of it. That's really a pattern matching kind of issue, really, but machine learning at the heart of it. There are so many. There are just so many. Go and have a look, because I'm sure some of them will be very, very similar to some of the activities that you're doing in your own businesses here. So what constitutes a good, I don't know what my next slide might be. Yeah, what constitutes a good proposal? So if you want to participate in any of this, you need to go to the website and register for the Hartree programme. And what we're asking you to do there is tell us a bit about your business. It's just check boxes, really, and radio buttons, so we can determine that you're an SME and are eligible to participate, that's all. And once you've registered, you can take advantage of any of the things I've been mentioning already. So you can attend a workshop. There's no cost to you other than the time that you have to put into coming along. It's a day in Newcastle, a day around here somewhere. Or you can submit an application for a collaborative project. And that process is very light touch. We've made it light touch because we know, SMEs are always, time precious and all the rest of it. So we've made it very light touch. So what we're really asking for there are you to answer about 5 questions. First one is, what's your business? And you should know that inside out, of course. Second one is, what is the project that you'd like to run with us? And then we get into things like, what sort of data have you got to enable us to run this project? Because if you don't have the data, we can't do a data science AI project with you. And by the way, it's no good to say, I know where I can get it. That ain't going to work, right? You've got to have it, okay, for it to be successful. That's a banana skin. And then we just explore with you sort of what are the risks of the project being success or failure, and what would the impact be? And it's as simple as that. And you could probably submit a successful application in 2 or 3 pages. And there's not usually more than that. So here's some of the things that, if you come to the workshop, my colleague Stephen Dowson from Nick D goes through all the elements of a successful application. And this is the final slide from his presentation, just summarising what they're looking for on the panel. So they want you to tell a good story. And a good story, typically is we're going to bring loads of children out of poverty or something like that. But it doesn't have to be, okay? We're going to develop a new vaccine for malaria or whatever. It doesn't have to be at that level, but you get the gist. Impacts, potential risks, digital readiness. They're all on there. But in addition to that, they're looking for something a little bit innovative. So you might be thinking, well, building and deploying an LLM in my business process is innovative. It may well be for you, right? And I wouldn't dispute that, but it's not for them because they've done like 20 already. So something innovative. And there are ways you can get around that by just coming upstream a little bit. So instead of saying, I want you to build an LLM for me, you could say to them, I'd like you to explore the performance of a number of different LLMs in this context. And then ultimately you'll get your LLM, but they'll have done something more exciting and different to get there. And there does have to be an element of risk. If it can just be done, they'll probably say to you, well, just do it, It's got to be a little element of risk there that you're prepared to take as well. So it may not work. But every project we've run so far has worked, by the way. So that's a little bit on that. I don't know. No, we're at the end. We're at the end. That's Hartree, guys. I'm very happy to take loads of questions because I don't think I've given you everything. Bethan.
How much tech knowledge and skills do you expect a business to have expected?
Great question, yeah. So we don't expect you to have any. That's what the data scientists at NICD bring. We expect you to have a domain expert that's able and available to work with the data scientists. So you put a proposal in your domain. They don't know anything about marketing, right? And there will be, even though the proposal can be well defined, there will be occasions where they've got to ask you a question around, the strategy or the business model or something like that, and that they don't have the answer to. So there has to be a domain expert in your business. They are interested to know that you've tried different things already, explored different funding mechanisms. You may have been awarded a grant to develop part of the process that you're looking at building on further. But you don't have to have any technical data science skills in your business at all. And what you can't do is use this as a means of bolting 3 or 4 projects together to get to something bigger. So you can only use it once on a particular project topic. You can go again in a completely different area, but you can't sort of build it up in a modular basis to get to something that's much, much bigger.
So you've got this notional 35,000 value. What if your project is more or less, and we might not know what that is?
No, great question.
If you get halfway through it and then you say, your money stops there.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you for that. It reminded me of something I didn't say. So the 35K is just arrived at by multiplying the number of days and the day rate of the data scientists. That's just what we say it's worth to you if you went out to commercial rates now to buy a similar service. And we have to know what that is to be able to manage our internal budgetary control and all the rest of it. But it's a great point. So the project, when you submit your application, has to be deliverable in 12 weeks. I didn't say that, and I should have done, because that's another banana skin, right? Some people have asked for the moon on a stick, and they failed because it can't be delivered. Now, to your point of how do you know if it can be delivered when you haven't got the technical expert in the business, you can always drop me an email and we'll have a Zoom call and we'll discuss it. And I do that all the time. I'm advising people on where they should cut down, focus on this bit, and it really happens all the time, I promise you. People come in with a huge project and it fails because it's not deliverable in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you quantify the kinds of outcomes that they have to achieve? Because you go back to things like youth commission funding, in the old days you'd have to say outputs on the lines of FTEs employed in the business or income generation created. There's no. You haven't got those kind of metrics attached. We don't at the moment measure. So there's a number of dimensions to that. We don't measure what happened after we've run a project with a business. Okay. So we don't know, and to date we don't really care. We do care, but we haven't put any effort into measuring what the impact of that intervention was, and did that help your business grow according to what you said it would in the plan, in the proposal. So we don't do that. It's just you get the projects delivered. It's done. Okay. Sure. In the application, similarly, we ask you to tell us what the benefit of this will be to your business, but we don't try and validate it afterwards. Okay. But with all these government-funded projects, there are auditors that might well come along down the line and say, I'm going to pick you and you, can you just tell us what the benefit of that was? And we're now thinking about actually doing that. So in December, we're running an event. It's a kind of working social where we're inviting everybody that's participated so far in Hartree to come along, and we're going to have a bit of fun, use Menti or something to find out what the value of our intervention was and what impact it had. So we're starting to think about that, but there's no obligation on you as a participant. All you need to do is do that little video at the end. Right. It seems fantastical.
I told you it's as good as the traitors, isn't it?
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, normally you're up for the next funding round yourselves and you're having to report to a government department or whatever.
No. So quite possible that someone in this room now will be running a Hartree project in the next 3 to 6 months with us.
Right.
So
I'll come to you.
Sorry. Yeah, I was thinking about you've got the expert the expert in the company working with your experts. in the last few projects you've run, how intrusive is that? How much hours is involved in our side?
Yeah. So it's up to you. We have companies that are intense, all right, and they're not really want to manage the project, but they sort of try and take advantage of the fact that they've got the project to get more done. So, what if we did this? Can we just do that? Can you fix? And our data scientists just have to be said, no, that's not what we're doing here. But they do that, and they're intense, right? So we've got those, and then at the other end of the spectrum, we had a business that we worked with, got the contract, no communication after the kickoff until it was finished. Thank you very much. And it was almost like, well.
But then is that just have they just delivered the bare bones of a system that needs polishing afterwards, or is it a functional component?
Often, no, it's a functional component without a shadow of a doubt. But often that is more like a POC than an MVP, if you see what I mean. It's more like helping you to get to the next level where you may have to purchase some commercial development to go further, or you may have to go for another grant or seek investment or something like that. But it's absolutely must be functional and benefit your business somehow. There's a section in there on how is this benefiting your business. Bethan.
Yeah, sorry, me again. You talked about the stuff the data scientists are bored of. What are they interested in doing, if anything?
I don't know. I don't know what they're interested in doing. I tell you what they haven't done yet. They haven't done any agentic AI.
Okay, that's interesting.
They haven't done a lot of RAG with LLMs. They've done some, but not a lot. They haven't done an awful lot of basic machine learning, actually. A lot of it's been LLMs. One company we worked with wanted to, you go on Vinted to try and sell your clothes or something, and people just throw them on the bed and take a photo, and then you try and sell it for a $5 or whatever. I don't know these websites. This company, they felt that if those clothes could be on a model, you'd have a better chance of getting a higher price for that garment. So they wanted, this is almost computer vision more, they wanted to superimpose the garment on the body shape and skin tone of the person that was potentially going to buy it. So that was a nice little project there. We haven't done much of that. So computer vision is one. What else? Cyber security could be something of interest there. We haven't really done anything on yet. Yeah, hope that's an adequate answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, there's a lot. These two are monopoly. Anybody else want to ask a question before we give the floor to you again?
I mean, Steve, you said obviously it's transferred, so the IP now belongs to you. But in terms of taking that on, if you haven't got the tech and skills, how does that work? Because if you put your business's reliance on it, it then falls over. What happens?
So I don't think we've actually worked with a company that has no in-house tech skills. Right. Would be my answer to that. Yeah. But it's a good point, and I can't help you with that. You'd have to find a solution.
Guaranteed for a day.
Yeah. Well, it's a real point, isn't it? Because technology leapfrogs so fast that what we build for you now could be obsolete in 6 months' time. And what we build for you now, let's say based on a machine learning model, might not be fit for purpose when some new customer of yours comes on board and their documents are in a different format and all this kind of stuff. So it's a very valid point. There'll be companies that in that SME spectrum that can cope with that, right? They'll get some good value for nothing. They'll implement it in the business, and when things change, they'll spend a bit of money on commercial developers to upgrade it. And there'll be other businesses that can't afford to do that, but they'll apply for another grant. So they'll go for a Bridge AI grant, or they'll go for an Innovate UK grant, or something like that to continue building that up bit by bit.
But can you come back to Nick on a paid basis? Or
you can. Yeah, sorry, you can do that, certainly. Sunderland Software City, Nick D, probably a number of people in the room as well, would be interested in helping out on that commercial basis, yeah. So, nobody picked me up on this, but I said we're in the third year of 3 on the Hartree project right now. as we are as certain as we can be with government funding that this project is going to continue for a further 5 years. We're hoping to hear by December of this year. We want to get contracts in place so that we can continue doing what we're doing. And if there've been 3 options submitted, I think there's no obstacle over the validity and the quality and the benefit of what we've been delivering. It's just like, who's going to put their hands in the pocket to pay? Looking like that might be DSIT right now. And the 3 options have gone through to them. One is to carry on as we are right now with 3 hubs for 3 years. Another one's to carry on with 3 hubs for 5 years. And the final option, which is the one that everybody's hoping for, is to carry on for 5 years with 4 hubs. So there will be another hub somewhere in the UK, because some territories are not covered, of course, like southeast of England, Midlands. There's plenty of areas that Scotland, maybe even. I'll have to come back to you with an update on that, but we're optimistic that we'll be running this for another 5 years. And you've got one last opportunity, by the way, to get an application in January before the 3-year window closes. But if you all apply, and everyone else that I've said that to applies, we're probably going to break the 21 applications ceiling. Go ahead.
Another question.
Yeah.
I'm an SME, but I might have a project with the MOD. And if that happens, can you guys work on that sort of thing? Or is that, would we need to be careful? Because you guys might not have clearance.
Oh, I see, right, yeah. Well, if we don't have clearance, no. Because we don't have, right?
Unless it's completely like anonymised or...
That's a question for the MOD, really, more than us. But yeah, we don't have security clearance in the line of work that we're in. Yeah.
You do it with your data and then you put that
Yeah.
in data.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Who defines the tech stack?
Who defines it? The data scientists.
Okay.
Working on the project, yeah. I mean, I say they design it. They'll work with you, in a consultant, in that collaborative arrangement.
But, like, so if they're all, let's say they're Python developers,
Yeah.
which I assume, well, I mean, not everyone knows, but it's terrible for production level AI because it's so slow.
Yeah.
Then one would have to rebuild it anyway. But if they're all super low level C++ developers, and then you can't find anyone to work on it after the fact.
Yeah, no, well, they are called collaborative projects because we're not doing it, whilst we're doing it for you, you're not doing it for you in isolation. So you have the opportunity in the application to say what you've done so far, what level of support do you think you're going to need from NICD, what skills have you got in-house, and you can steer them in that direction in the application. Then when you have the kick-off meeting, you'll have that opportunity to discuss that tech stack and, again, before any work's done. So, and they've got loads and loads of skills up there, okay, everything that you could think of. They'll work with you on that for sure.
So in effect, you're explaining how you want it to integrate into your existing system.
Yeah, and that's why you need the domain expert in the business, to be willing to give that time to the project to be able to make it to succeed.
Exciting.
Right. Anyone for any more? Yeah, let's.
I'm quite intrigued by the way it's written about identifying potential risks that arise from completing the project. Is it about undertaking the project? So things like your domain expert is then tied up for 12 weeks because they're part of the project, or is it something's going to shift in your business, so there's implications? What's interesting to you about the risk?
Yeah, so I only sat on the panel for the very first round. And then I had to stand down because it was becoming obvious that I'm talking to you about your proposals and I can't possibly sit on the panel. So it's evolved since then. So I don't know, and that is poor. I'm going to give you that. It's Stephen's slide. Yeah, just pass it on. He's not here. Yeah, it's Stephen's slide. Yeah, and my understanding is really the risks of success of completing the project. Right? Yeah. That's what they're interested in when they're evaluating the proposals. So I don't like that phrase. No, don't like that. Yeah, risk you're not going to take. Yeah. So my advice to you is to come along to a workshop and have all the 10 slides that go before that to explain it. Okay, that was a mistake putting that on without giving you all the other slides beforehand. Yeah, I'm going to get it off there before you ask me another question. There you go. That's the one you need.
Very good.
Do you publish the scoring rubric, or is that hidden?
No, we don't. But it's quite comprehensive, and for the first couple of years, it was really based on the technical details in the proposal, the feasibility of success, whether or not you had the data available, blah 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 blah, all that kind of technical assessment. More recently, we're doing a bit more due diligence, and we're looking at the financial stability of the business as well, because it's public money, right? That we're effectively giving away, and we don't want to be investing in businesses that really haven't got a hope because they're on the rocks. And this is like, this 35k nominally will, reduce their debt, a little bit, that kind of thing, help their cash flow, whatever. So we're starting to look at that. So if there were two high-ranked technical proposals, and one was for a business that's flourishing and one was for a business on the rocks, it's going that way, right? Yeah. But it's not the primary assessment tool. That's technical details of the proposal and in all the questions that we ask, and avoiding those banana skins, particularly having data and not asking for the moon on a stick.
You keep mentioning data, but the elephant in the room is there's a lot of dirty data out there. So, do you want clean data? Great question again. So I use the word data because, in my little mind, almost every flavor of AI is underpinned by data, okay? Whether it's machine learning, whether it's generative AI, whether it's cybersecurity, it's all underpinned by data, okay? So that one's out of the way. Now, clearly, you need to have clean data. There's a lot of work goes on in data wrangling in projects, even when we work with customers that have high quality data. And actually, I advocate in some cases that when you're submitting a proposal, you share with us the types of data you've got, so we know whether there's going to be too much work deployed there. And the data scientists at HNCDI don't like cleaning your data for you. So if you're going to put in a proposal that says, I need you to clean all this data, it's not going to run, okay? So having high quality data is important, yeah.
How long is it between workshop, deadline, submission, start date? Just approximately, because if I need to prepare this data, if I turn up to your workshop on a Monday and you start 2 weeks later.
It varies actually, because we haven't got our act together. Sunderland Software City and HNCDI don't always get the timing right. So what we've avoided on every occasion so far is an open call going out before the workshop, right? Because that would be a disaster, wouldn't it? So we've always managed to schedule a workshop first, but in January, I think the open call is going to be open when the workshop's scheduled. The open call's open for 3 weeks. Yeah, and then I think the workshop will be scheduled then. So as long as you've got a week or something like that after the workshop to put in a proposal, you'll be okay. Many people have been successful without coming to a workshop. You just call me up, we'll have a Zoom call and I can talk you through what the expectations are and find out a bit more about your project, give you some advice. So there isn't a concrete answer to that every time. It might be that the workshop happens 1 month and the open call's a month later, where you've got plenty of time then in that case. But it's not as good an answer as I'd like to give you there. Should have made it up, shouldn't I? Yeah.
Just following on from the statement about financial stability, is it limited just to for-profit companies, or would you work with community interest companies, cooperatives, charities?
Yeah, all of those, and sole traders. Actually, I say SMEs, but the Hartree Centre are very flexible. Actually, very flexible, which took me by surprise because my experience of working with government-funded programs is that the rules are there and you follow them, but they're very, very flexible. So it applies to all of those, yeah. I think you're more likely to be successful though if you've got if you're an established business. I just feel that's the way it is because you've got a back catalogue of data, right? If you just started yesterday, you probably haven't got much. Yeah, that kind of thing. But Centre, the grassroots football business that I spoke to you about, had not been trading very long, and they were successful. It was quite early on in the Hartree programme, so we may have finessed our scoring mechanism now. So look, you're still all here, but yeah, like traitors, you've got a good opportunity to win a big prize at the end of this, and hope some of you submit applications in January.
Thank you very much. Great. Well, I think we're here till 9 o'clock. Is that right? Yeah. So feel free to stay, hang around, have a chat to Stephen. If you're interested in sponsorship, you haven't forgotten that, come and have a chat to us. But thank you for coming.
Thank you.